Hello. I think we're live. How's it going today? Late start today, not the usual time. Today I'm drinking First Flush Korean green tea from the best place in Amsterdam called Formocha. I don't know why I try to do this focus thing. It never works. Formocha. It's also the coolest tea tin ever. I don't know how much you can see it. But it says Amsterdam and it has the canals and the bridges on the sides. Pretty cool. Anyway, I was just there a few weeks ago. Tried a few teas, and this is my favorite one, the batch. I also have new tea cups. Check these guys out. Yeah, I can't focus. Anyway, from Japan. How's it going? Who's here? Today we're going to talk about whatever you ask about, like usual, but I just wrote a post about home automation, all the projects that I've done, all that sort of stuff. So if there's any questions about that, could be a good time for it. It's funny, when I wrote that post, I was like nailing these projects. I had all these awesome home automation things going. And then since then, for the past couple days, I've been trying to come up with some way to make my pool automatically fill itself. And I've tried like ultrasonic sensing. I've tried, I don't know, like a moisture sensor I built myself that I stuck down one of the tubes. I've been trying all these things, can't figure it out. So now I'm a little more frustrated with them, but we can still talk about it. Still a lot of other good ones going on. Hello, Michael. Good to see you. Oh, it's always the names I can't pronounce. I'm going to give it a go, though. Hey, Meza. Meza? How's that? Is that right? Good to see you guys. Yeah, this is such a good one. Let's see. No questions. So I'm just going to talk about random home automation stuff I've done recently, since probably a lot of people watch it afterwards. What have I been working on recently? I did a new pool light. This one was sort of interesting. So my pool light, when I put the bulb in, I didn't seal it properly, and a little bit of water got in and just nuked the whole thing. And then the water was too cold. I did this in the winter, so I didn't go get it. So the whole thing rusted out and was totally unusable. So I had to replace the whole thing. So I got this cool thing called a Pool Alexa, which is sort of just like the fancier, like multicolor pool light you can get. So I got it, and it's the bulb which you put in, or it's like a flat panel kind of bulb thing you put in the pool. Then you have to run this cable through the little pipe up to the pool area. And then it has this box that has all these controls, and you can change the color. And so what I did was I took apart the box, and I got just like a cheap RGB LED strip controller, and I put it in instead, and I hooked up all the wires. And now I think I probably have the best pool light anybody has, because there aren't any good ones you can buy. And I can dim it to any level. I can change all the colors that I want. So that's been like the big win recently. And I think that's why I'm trying to do this pool leveling thing, because I just started going down the pool rabbit hole. Here we go. Let's see. What's up, Michael? Question about the automation. Is person recognition, whether it's you or someone else, a feature of the camera or some external code? So there's two ways to do it. So first of all, it depends what you're talking about. If we're talking about just detecting if a person is there but not a specific person, there's two ways to do it. You can do it on the camera directly. Raolink is the camera brand that I like. They're just like a cheap Amazon brand. They do it built in. They have some like person detecting chip. It can also detect vehicles and maybe pets or something. And you can trigger based on just that alone. if you go with Frigate, which is the Home Assistant one that's built in, you have to get this little like USB thing from Google called a Coral. It's an AI processor or something. And that will do it for even dumb cameras. So I replaced a bunch of my cameras with the ones that could detect it on chip. And then once I switched to Frigate, all of a sudden I could use all my old dumb ones again, and they all just kind of work the same. I haven't set this up, but there is also a plugin for Home Assistant you can get. I think it's more than a plugin. I think it's like a somewhat involved thing where it will identify specific people. So you could have like a totally deviceless, keyless situation where if you walk up to your house, it recognizes you and opens the door. But I don't know what would happen if somebody just walked up with like a picture of you, and I don't know if that would work or not. What they don't do that I wish they did is I wish that they had package identification. Like, is there a package sitting at your door? Because that's what I really want a notification on. Does that answer the question? I think so, right? Yeah, not too many people here today. That's weird. Last time I didn't announce it on the blog. I figured no one would show up, and a lot of people came. And now I announced it on the blog, not too many people. What's up, Christopher? Desert State, good to see you. I think I was talking to you last time because I think I just watched the last video to see when I did it. And I think I was talking about how I was going to Arizona that day. Actually, I was just in Arizona yesterday. I was on Lake Mead, and it straddles both of them. For those people not in the desert states, I think that the Southwest desert states of the US are going to be like the next big thing, because I think it's life here is awesome. Proximity to stuff is awesome, low cost. And I think a lot of people are going to, a lot of people are moving to these places, but I think it will continue to happen. Any questions about home automation, non-home automation? I can just keep rambling about random stuff too. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the setup recognizes me and my wife. We don't do video. I do it based on phone. So right now, the way I have it set up, which is probably not the best way, but it's a holdover from my last automation system, is what do? I use Tasker, which is it's like an automation platform for Android. And I use a plugin called Auto Location or something. It's Auto Location. And then I just have it send. So one of the really cool things about Home Assistant is you can have an API endpoint for anything. And it's really easy to do. And so I just have it when we get within a certain geolocation fence, it says we're home. When we go outside of a bigger one, then it says we're not home. And then I also do the same thing with all of Vegas. So that way, if we're both outside of Vegas, it'll put the house into like home energy, like energy saving mode and all that. And then as soon as we get back into Vegas, it starts cooling the house down again. So by the time we get to the house, hopefully it's at least like halfway the right temperature. I think that's the best way to do it. Home Assistant also has some built-in stuff to do that, which is probably better. I tried once and I just couldn't get it to ever see that I had moved. So it seemed like some camera permission issue or something, but I tried. I don't know. Couldn't get it working. Hello from Bangkok. How's it going, Scott? Man, I haven't been to Bangkok. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm not the biggest Thailand guy in the world, but I used to go pretty regularly, maybe like once every 12, 18 months or something. I haven't been in a long time. Oddly, my favorite thing about Bangkok is the movie theaters there, because I never watch movies. I think the last time I saw a movie in theaters was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. But it's so hot and humid in Bangkok, and I don't do great with humidity. And then you go into their movie theaters, and they have these luxury ones where it's like super comfortable, and they like bring you cookies, and it's nice and air conditioned. You have a blanket. So every time I go to Bangkok, I see a movie. In Europe, electricity has gotten crazy expensive. Does home automation cut down much on electricity bills? It can. So it sort of depends what your setup is at home and how much stuff you have to control. Like a basic one is something I was just talking about a little bit a second ago. when my wife and I leave the house, it raises the temperature, during air conditioning season, turns off things like the pool light because nobody's looking at it. What else does it? Oh, it closes certain curtains if it's hot enough outside to conserve the cool air inside. In fact, there's a lot of curtain-based stuff I do just to keep the heat out. We have this really awesome rate schedule for, you're old when you're excited about a rate schedule for electricity, but here we are. We have this rate schedule where it's very expensive from 1 to 7 p.m. on weekdays. And then all the other rest of the year, it's a third of that price. And then from 8 p.m. to like 10 a.m. or something like that, because we have an electric car, it's even cheaper by like 5 or 10%. So I do stuff like have the pool pump, which is one of the higher using things, only go during that time. I actually don't have this set up on my new system, but I should set it up again. I had something where it would pre-cool the house for like an hour before the higher rate kicks in, because it's actually just cheaper to like cool the house down to like 72 and then keep it off for like an hour or two. So there's a lot of fun stuff you can do. I don't know, like I haven't done an A/B test on how much it saves because I do this stuff incrementally, but it is fun to do that kind of stuff. I really enjoy it. I guess in Europe it depends what you're using too, because often there's no air conditioning there. But you can do lights too. Another interesting thing is that a light at like 10% brightness uses, you would think it's 10% of electricity, but it's actually like 1% or something like that. You can check your own numbers. I'm probably wrong, but I was surprised at how I could dim a light to like say 50% and it uses like a fraction of the electricity. So in our house, every light during the evening anyway is on, but they're all to these really dim levels and they use almost no power. And so I have a lot of stuff like that so that, for example, in the kitchen, if you're in the kitchen, the lights turn on. As soon as you leave, it gets them very, very dim again. And all the rooms are like that. My wife doesn't really love this. She calls it poverty lighting, but probably saves power. Are you still big on Vegas? What's the next best Southwest location you'd recommend looking to live? I love Vegas. Honestly, every time now, it's like every month when it's time to write my blog post, I'm like, when's the last time I wrote about how everybody should move to Vegas? Should I just write that post again? And partly because I don't think anybody really moves to Vegas. And I get it, because I think if I didn't, that's the other thing. I know that if I didn't live in Vegas, I could hear somebody like me talk about how awesome it is to live in Vegas. And I'd be like, yeah, but it probably sucks. Like there's probably nowhere in the US that somebody could convince me to live right now. And it's probably for the same reasons. I think it's the most underrated city. And the reality is the delta between expectations and reality in a good way is bigger than anywhere else I've ever been in any country. Maybe Budapest. That's also a pretty big one, I think. So it's just like so common that I'll like bring a friend here, like kicking and screaming. And then a month later, they're like, I'm all in on Vegas. I can't believe how great it is. I love living here. So I love Vegas. You should move to Vegas. Vegas is the best place to live. And I could go into the reasons. I would love to go into the reasons if you have questions, but I've written blog posts about it. The other thing is that Vegas is also improving faster than any other place I've been. In fact, I think most cities that I spend time in, like Austin, San Francisco, are getting worse fairly obviously. Vegas is such an exciting city to live in right now because so many great things are happening for it, and it just keeps getting better and better. And it's nice to be somewhere where it's on the upswing. I don't know if that'll always be the case. I think it will because of the dynamics of Vegas, but I could be wrong. But there's also something nice about it's still cheap enough now that you can get an awesome place in Vegas. So even if it does sort of get to a point where it's pricing certain people out, well, if you have an awesome place in the middle of Vegas, that will affect you less, or you could sell it and move somewhere else. So anyway, that was just an excuse to go off on Vegas. I also think New Mexico is possibly underrated. I haven't spent enough time to know there, but every time I go through, what is it? Is it Santa Fe is the one? Tucson? No, it's Arizona. What's the other one? Santa Fe. I'm blanking on it. Whichever one from driving from here to Austin that you go through, every time I go, I think like, wow, this place is more beautiful than I thought it would be. The food is great. I don't know about the cost of living, but I don't know. It's just one of those places you go through and you're like, oh, I sort of bet this might be a good place. I also get that feeling a little bit with Chicago. I personally wouldn't want to deal with the winters, and I think cost of living is relatively high. But every time I go to Chicago, I think like, wow, in terms of like a city in the U.S. where it's like skyscrapers and you walk through the streets, I think it's the best city. I think it's so nice. Anyway, I just think everybody lives in the lamest places, so I get fired up about these topics. All right. Enough about Vegas for now, unless you ask more questions and give me the opportunity. I'd love to keep talking about them. Let's see. All right. Getting some good questions now. Thank you, guys. Not directly related to home automation, but what are your initial impressions of Apple Vision Pro? Okay, so first, I have to. My bias is that I hate Apple. I think they're such a dumb company. I think that like the products they make, what they're optimizing for is so against what I want personally. And it also annoys me how everybody thinks that they're so good. And they are good for some people. Like my mom has Apple stuff, great. Like it totally makes sense. And frankly, they are actually right for a lot of people because Windows is worse for sure. Anyway, so I have a bias against Apple. So I'm probably slightly negative on them when maybe I shouldn't be. That said, I was excited about them coming out and I was planning on buying them. So I was like, this might be the first Apple product I buy in a long time. I'm excited about it. I think that the optics of it sound incredible. The fact that it seems to really be the full field of vision seems to be, now we'll see, because Apple always hypes all this stuff up and it's often not like as true as it seems. But it seems possibly like a very wide field of vision, which would be great. It is very high resolution. Apple generally has good quality displays, so I think all that stuff's going to be good. The use case for it, I think, is so stupid, and I have zero interest in that. See, I get fired up about Apple, and then I forget about my tea. So, like, do I want to wear this heavy thing on my head and pretend I have 5 monitors? Not really. So I don't know. I do think that it's likely to improve other VR headsets enough that it will create something that I'll be excited about. Because this sort of happened with monitors, where for a while Lenovo or ThinkPad, I think back then it was IBM, ThinkPad had really good high resolution monitors. They had the best of them. And then every other PC brand had terrible monitors, screens on the laptops. And then Apple finally started making their Retina displays, which is just a stupid buzzword for high-res screens. And then everybody had to copy them. And so I'm hoping that will also happen with VR headsets. All right. Enough ranting on Apple. I think I'm mostly disappointed. I thought like maybe, the other thing is that it does have legitimately incredible processing power on it. I do think Apple's done an incredible job with their chips, although they sort of inflate the benchmarks. They really are great. They're probably the best. So to have those on the headset is awesome. All right, I'm really ranting today. I don't know what's going on. All right, here we go. Let's see. Stuck trying to pick a place to move in the USA. I want to make a ton of friends and live close to them. So I will say Vegas is maybe not the best place for making friends. That said, I think that's traditionally true. However, I would say the more I go to the downtown area in particular, which is not where I live, but I do think it's a cool area, it does feel like there's just like visually, it just seems like, there's more people like sort of younger. They seem to kind of be out doing stuff. Like if you want to meet the most people, you should move to Austin right now. My personal opinion is that the people who are moving to Austin now, no offense to everybody I love who lives in Austin, because there's a lot of them, the people who are moving to Austin now are sort of whatever the opposite of an early adopter is. Like they've waited for somewhere to get overhyped and sort of be on the decline. They're like, well, I'll move there too. So those aren't the kind of people that I want to hang out with. And that said, there are also some awesome people. There's awesome people anywhere, and there's some very awesome people in Austin. So anyway, Vegas is like an early adopter place right now. So you come here, you can create a friend group, and like, are there 20, 30 amazing people you could meet and make like an awesome friend group with here? Of course. true of anywhere. You could probably move to a random city in like Illinois and that would be true. So I don't know. It's maybe not the best place for that, but you also have to balance, well, if you want to live close to them, this is a place where it's very possible to do that. And it's hard. Like, I think people are looking for the perfect place to live. Whereas what's better is, okay, what are my top few priorities? Let me rank a few cities and then let me ignore the rest of the factors. Maybe you're going to live somewhere where it's snowy, but hey, if you're hanging out with your friends by the campfire every day, probably it's fine. All right, lots of questions. Sweet. Do you ever ground yourself electricity to the earth while you're indoors? Are you concerned about constant EMF from Wi-Fi bulbs and devices while you sleep every night? I don't, and I'm not concerned. However, so everybody's been sending me this Brian Johnson stuff recently, which I assume is why you're asking me this question. And so I was surprised that he sleeps on a grounding sheet, which, if you don't know, it's cotton sheet with silver threads woven into it, and then you plug it into just that grounding pin on an outlet in your house, and it grounds you. And my assumption is that this is total garbage. I actually wore grounding sandals for a while because this awesome company called Earth Runners was like custom making them for me for free, and they were very comfortable, and I liked them. But I even told them, I was like, look, I think this grounding thing's ridiculous. I just like your sandals. Didn't notice anything with that. I also sleep great. My sleep scores are like 90 something every night. But as I was researching this Brian Johnson guy, he does seem to be obviously way more rigorous and scientific than I am. He sleeps with a grounding sheet. And there was one study that seemed legitimate, that seemed to indicate that people slept better and healed faster with it. I don't know. And it was double blind, so placebo couldn't be a factor. I don't know. I think it's, I could be wrong on it. Maybe worth looking more into it. Albuquerque. That's the one. Wait, is that the one? I think Santa Fe is the one, but Albuquerque is the other city. Damn it. Is that backwards? I'm not sure. My buddy Noah goes to Albuquerque all the time, and so I think it's not that one. Favorite brand of indoor light bulbs for home automation? Hue bulbs are the best. I didn't want that to be true because they're sort of like the Apple of bulbs. And I'm like, oh, you're overpaying. It's their own system. They really are the best. I like their app a lot. Their app is very good. I find it even better than Home Assistant for quickly sort of setting a scene of the lights, and then you sort of like record it in Home Assistant. They also just work the best. I had one die once, and it was just like a total failure, which is good because I'm like, okay, I need to replace this bulb. I also bought some Sengled LEDs. Those were the first ones I bought, and now I have a box of them because I actually replaced most of them. But I have them on the patio. They have the sort of like this shape triangle ones that you screw into like a fixture, and they just once in a while sort of flake out where I notice one of them isn't responding every time to the system. I would just buy Hue ones. There's often deals on them on Amazon or Costco or maybe Sam's Club. I check Slick Deals and occasionally just find deals on them, and I'll just buy a bunch even if I don't need them. They also have these awesome retrofit kits. If you have can lighting, like you can't see it in here, but the room I'm in now, it had those can lights, the recessed lights in the ceiling that you put a bulb in. And what you can do is you take out the bulb, and then they have this cool like flat panel thing that you snap in, and it makes it look really modern and nice. So I really like Hue. They have a pretty wide variety of bulbs and fixtures for different scenarios. 3 low-cost, these are good questions. 3 low-cost, relatively high-return automations. I would say doors unlocking as soon as you get home is just so nice. It's to the point, I think I wrote this in the post, where I had to like have my wife go back and forth while I turned mine off because I was like, I think the locks are actually locking when we're gone, but I'm not sure. It seems like they're always just unlocked. So those are my favorite sorts of automations where something seems like it's always on or always unlocked or always in some state, but it's actually just when you're there. So I like that. I think also being able to turn off all of your key lights when you go to sleep. Now, if you do a sleep tracker, that's the best way to do it. So I lie down, the lights dim, 5 minutes later, they're all off. That's nice. Saves power, all that, locks the doors. But even if you just say, hey, Alexa, I have to say that instead of the one I actually have, otherwise things will go crazy over here. You say, hey, Alexa, I'm going to sleep, and it turns it all off. That's pretty good. So that's two. I also think curtains, maybe those are a little higher cost, but not bad. I wish I had better recommendations for them. What I'm trying to do now is blinds.com sells really, really inexpensive blinds, but that aren't automated. And I think that I can just buy this thing that goes in the tube from China that will turn it into an automated one. So maybe I'll update people once I get that, because I ordered it. But it's pretty magical to like have your blinds in your bedroom shut and then open in the morning. And because I hate doing those blinds, especially if you have a lot of them, it's pretty annoying. I don't know if any of those were as low cost as I wanted them to be, but yeah, there you go. Which automation helped more to stick to a given habit? What would be a good example? What would be a good one for that? Do they help with my habits? I don't know if you count it as habit, but good sleep. It's that habit. I have a lot. I think my sleep is better because of all the lights and even just the peace of mind of knowing all the locks are locked, and shutting the shades fully. Maybe that helps. I have one for the gym where if I say, hey, Alexa, gym time, it turns on the TV, it turns on the lights, it kind of gets everything set up in the gym. So I don't know. I mean, is that really going to change whether I use the gym or not? Probably not. But it kind of gets me excited about it because I like these automations I build. So I say it, I'm like, oh, all right. I don't know. Yeah, maybe not tons of stuff. Oh, it turns on the fans in the gym. Keep me cool. I like that one. Oh, what's up, Hassan? Good to see you. Let's see. Oh, okay. Red espresso rooibos. No idea what that is, but I like rooibos. Of all the non-tea teas, I think rooibos is probably the best one. It's one I would like actually drink voluntarily. Any opinions about a nice city to live in Canada? So I don't have enough experience to really tell you. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Toronto, which I didn't like much. Spent some time in Montreal, which I think is cool, but I don't know enough to know whether it's a good place to live. Obviously, I spent a lot of time in Halifax. I love Halifax. I don't know if it would really be good to live in, but I like it. I think it's a very cute city, very charming, has really good food. The airport is not that great, but it's like at least it has a couple flights to Europe. I don't know. And the people of Halifax are like the nicest people ever. Like if you want a city to go make friends in, I feel like you could make 1,000 friends in Halifax. That's a nice place. But, I don't know. I spend my time on the island. It's not quite the same, but we do go into Halifax and I've only had good experiences in Halifax, I would say. Ghost of McAfee also mentioned Victoria, BC. I just went there a few weeks ago and it was a stunningly beautiful place. Met these guys who run a company called tiny.com, Chris Sparling and Andrew Wilkinson, and they live there. And I thought that was interesting because they're very successful. And it's like, well, why are you living in this random little place? But, we kind of went around a little bit and yeah, it was a cool place. I don't know if it's very expensive or not, but it's cool that you can get easily to Vancouver, but it was very beautiful. We were there in the spring and it was like flowers everywhere, really nice place. So yeah, I don't know enough to give a good recommendation, but yeah. Can you talk about the current state of ETH in my view? Thought you'd never ask. So look, we have to talk about my bias against Apple. I'm very biased towards Ethereum. I love Ethereum. And it's not just because I've done well with it, because I've also done really well with Bitcoin, and I'm not that into Bitcoin. I love Vitalik. I think that Ethereum is making all of the right decisions, and technologically, I think is so much better than everybody, including myself, really know. There's all this stuff happening with it that I like vaguely understand, but I understand is a big deal. So, my whole thing on crypto is I believe that it's going to be a huge part of the future. And I think that ETH is doing the things that will ensure that it is a big part of the future. Whereas Bitcoin, I think, is sort of coasting, and it's like, well, it may still be there because it has the first mover advantage. I think there is some security in that, like, well, okay, it's Bitcoin, it's not going anywhere. But I'm just so bullish on ETH. I think right now it's so underpriced for, and you shouldn't listen to me for these things because I'm biased, but this is just my own opinion. I think, like, relative to its capabilities and where I think it's going to be in the, like, global financial system, I think it's really underrated right now. And I think the fact that I, as somebody who's really into it and who researches it a lot, don't fully even, I'm surprised every week with new stuff that's going on technologically with it. I think is a really good sign. It's also the only coin that sort of is profitable. And I think this is maybe too hard for me to explain in a few minutes here, but essentially every cryptocurrency is selling its block space. That's essentially the commodity it's selling, right? People pay fees for transactions. That's selling the block space. And Ethereum's block space is in enough demand that it's profitable. The cost to run the entire network, you can actually make a profit as one of the people running the network. So it's a net profitable thing. And it's the only one. It's also deflationary now after the merge. The merge went so well. I'd go on forever. So into it. But don't take my advice on these things because, it's also volatile and there could be one hack that I don't think will happen, but it could happen. A lot of things I haven't predicted, and there could be one hack where it's ruined. So, it's definitely a risky thing. Do all of your hue bulbs switch to red at sundown? Not fully red. I actually had the bathroom fully red, so that if I had to, like, get up to pee in the middle of the night, be night vision, whatever. And my wife said it looked like a murder room. So she says you can do any color besides red. I do very, very warm. Another thing I really like about Home Assistant is that you can specify the color temperature. And even if the bulb doesn't natively support it, it'll mix the colors to get it. And so at night, they're all at like 2000, 2200. So very orange, dim, warm sort of candlelight vibes. And then during the day, like, again, you can't see these lights, but you can maybe see how bright it is. I have them on regular brightness. Talked about BTC. Good question. I wonder if this is just Nick in disguise. If you had to start a friend group from scratch in a new city, what would be your strategy? So I think if I had to do it, I have enough, like, readers and stuff that I think I could, like, reach out and network and get plugged in a little bit. So if it's a city where you feel like you know people or you know people that know people, I would definitely start with that base of people. And I would, like, even when I moved to SF, anybody who emailed me, I would have tea with them or have a meal with them and try to meet people. Whereas probably now I wouldn't do that. So I would, take the easy wins. And if you already have a network there of some sort, start with those. Here's the product pitch for my buddy Nick's book. My friend Nick has a book called The 2-Hour Cocktail Party. I was against this name because it has nothing to do with cocktails or really cocktail parties. But he sort of pioneered this way to have a 2-hour party that is very conducive to people making connections with each other. Not like in a spiritual woo-woo deep soul connection, but I feel like most parties you go to, at least me, I'm sort of a natural introvert. If I'm not putting an effort in, I'm going to go to a party. I'm going to talk to the people I know. I'm not going to meet anybody new, and then I'm going to leave. Nick's parties are easy to host. He has a full guide. You can call him. He has his phone number listed publicly. He would love if you called him if you bought the book and asked how to do a party. I've seen him actually, like, walk people through the stuff. So it's a pretty big opportunity that he would do this. And you can host this party. You'll help friends make friends. And the way you build a social circle is by making your friends make other friends. It's not like a hub and spoke where you're the hub and you're friends with all these people. It's a mesh where everybody has a connection with everybody else, because that's how it's self-sustaining. That way, if you're out of town, they still hang out with each other. As their bonds get better, that increases sort of the depth of the friend group. So I also wrote a book, Superhuman Social Skills. I think it's my best book. I would read that too if you haven't. I've also written a bunch of blog posts about this sort of stuff. But read Nick's book and use connections you already have. Let's see. What's up, Garrett? Good to see you. Shoot, I'm supposed to read your book. I started reading it a little bit, and did not finish it. That might be a little bit of feedback there, but let me look at it again and get back to you. But good to see you. What are your thoughts on Monero? Anti. Not because it might. Look, here's the thing. Is it possible that Monero or some other random coin is going to be the biggest gainer of this year? Yes. Is ETH going to be the biggest gainer this year? Probably. Oh, definitely not, because some random coin is going to go up 10,000%. But I'm not trying to pick the winner. I'm trying to balance the risk and reward. So could Monero go to zero? Absolutely, it could go to zero. I think it probably will on a long enough time horizon. I think that ETH is at the point, same with Bitcoin maybe, where it can't go to zero anymore. And that's sort of a shorthand of saying it also probably can't stay at a very low point. So I don't have any, I have ETH, and then I have Bitcoin, and I primarily have Bitcoin because I don't want to sell it for ETH and pay the taxes. And also because I think there is a path where it sort of becomes like a world reserve currency. So I want to at least have a little bit. But I think I'm sort of like 75% ETH or more than that, or 90% ETH versus Bitcoin, something like that. Oh, robot vacuum. I do have a robot vacuum. I have, what do I have? Ecovacs DBot 9 or something. It's okay. Here's the problem with robot vacuums is if they can't just do everything automatically with zero intervention, you're probably not really going to use them, or at least I don't use them. I got the one, T8 AIVI is the one I have. So it has AI. It supposedly can see when you have cords. I have cords all over my floor. I have cords right over there. My office looks like a disaster. The rest of the house is pretty clean, but occasionally, it's like I'm going to leave a cord somewhere. I've got so many projects going on that usually there's like one room where I've just got stuff because I'm working on it. It also, we have wool rugs, and a lot of the fur or whatever gets pulled out. A lot of the wool gets pulled up, and then it sort of clogs the thing, and it doesn't empty it often enough. So I don't know. There's nothing I want more than for robot vacuums to be the future. I think I should actually give it another try, but I don't have a strong recommendation on it personally. I saw the one today. I actually saw an ad, despite like 9 ad blockers, that can like mop. Mine can mop, but it's a lot of manual stuff. You have to fill it. This one could it fills itself. It washes the mop brushes. It empties itself. Maybe it's better. Yeah. I want them to work so badly. Sockless. Okay. Let's see. Observing Tynan's chat. Early questions set the tone. Recurrently reference despite subsequent inquiries throughout the. I think that's true. Is that good? Bad? I don't know. Yeah, callbacks. Old holdover from the pickup days, right? That is a good question. Any new technology topics you're researching and tinkering with? AI art, AI writing. Looked into AI LLM sort of stuff a little bit for Cruise Sheet. Found it's like 90% of the time it's perfect. And then like 8% of the time it's okay. And 2% of the time it's like catastrophic. Like I was trying to have it write some cruise descriptions, and it would just say things that weren't true. And because we're selling a product, that's scary to me. I am working on something. What I want is for Cruise Sheet to have a search where you can say 5-day cruise from the Caribbean next week and just type that into a search box, and then AI will parse that and show you the results. And so I'm getting pretty close on that. I actually think that the way AI parses input is a lot more impressive than its output right now. But obviously, I think the output is like very promising for the future. Any other? This is like such a stupid rabbit hole, but calling back to the home automation stuff, I am about to start getting into computer vision because I'm just on a mission. So outside my window, so I'm sitting in the tea room right now, and over there's some French doors, and I'm looking out at the pool, and there is this hose, big red hose with this big black thing that goes over the edge of the pool to fill the pool. It's a float valve and a hose. And I'm sitting here having tea with my friends. backyard looks pretty nice. And then I see the stupid hose and it drives me bananas. And it drives me bananas because not because it's like poor me, I have to look at a hose, but I'm like, there must be some better way than this. And so for the past week, I mean, it's embarrassing, but for like maybe 4 or 5 days, every day I try some new way to measure the water level of this pool. So I was trying to do an ultrasonic thing. Then there's this conduit that goes down to the pool light. And so I built like a wet sensor. I tried to put it in there, but it wasn't triggering right. Anyway, I'm about to learn about computer vision because I have security cameras that look at the pool. And so I'm thinking if I tap into those, visually, it's very easy to see where the water level is. So I'm thinking maybe I can get that working. So that'd be interesting. I've never done computer vision stuff. I know it's not super cutting edge these days, but maybe it'll solve my problem. Let's see. Anything else I'm looking at right now? Oh, well, what was I just working on? Not really, just some minor circuit stuff. I think stuff that you already know how to do that wouldn't be that interesting. Good places in Africa to spend a few months of the year in the future outlook. So I've spent very little time in Africa. I've been to Morocco. I've been to Egypt. Is that it? That might be it. Yeah. So most of the major cities in Morocco, and then just Cairo in Egypt. However, I'm very excited to go to Rwanda. So Kigali, Rwanda. I have a friend who's been, and he's just so excited about it. Watch some videos about Kigali, Rwanda. It's they had this incredible genocide. I mean, just like one of the tragedies of like recently of like our modern time, the Rwanda genocide, and somehow they've managed to emerge from it. And it's like you have a blank slate because a lot of your population is gone. It's like clearly what you were doing wasn't working, so it's this blank slate. And I think usually these situations end up really bad. The blank slate, it's like a power vacuum, and the people who take it are not the people you want to be in power. I don't know a ton about it, but it seems like Rwanda really took the opportunity of like, okay, we're starting fresh, let's do it right. And it's like an incredible society where it's like the safest place in Africa. Every weekend, everybody has to clean up their neighborhood. And it's sort of being seen as like maybe the Singapore of Africa. It seems incredible. So that's really high on my list of places I want to go. And a buddy who maybe sort of has some similar preferences to me, he loves it and he wants to go back. So I would check that out. And I do hope to check it out. I also love Ethiopian food, so I think Ethiopia would be interesting. I think there's a civil war there right now, so maybe not the best time to go. But yeah, I'd like to spend more time in Africa. I think, and this is like, not a good attitude. I think in my mind, I know so little about Africa that a lot of it is lumped in together in the same way Europe was before I went there, where it's like, well, it's Europe. I don't know. It's like Paris. And so even if I'm like, oh, I want to go to Africa, I don't really even know what that means, except Rwanda. I know some unique things, so it sounds interesting. Have you ever been into urban exploration? Curious what it looks like in Vegas. I used to be so into urban exploration. When I lived in Austin, that was like my thing. In fact, funny story, my friends and I broke into the tunnels under UT Austin, and this is back when the blog wasn't that popular. And so I would, I just post everything, and I posted the photos and the news picked it up. And so what was funny is I had a couple friends who were going into the military, so they wanted their faces blurred. So their faces were blurred. I was taking the photos, so I wasn't in the photos. And then my one friend who just didn't care is the only unblurred photo. So it's on TV and it's just like him smiling and all these blurred faces. And it was on the local news, and my mom was watching it and she heard it. And she's like, oh God, I hope that's not Tynan. And of course it was, but she didn't see. So they were on the news, they showed all these pictures, and I was like, I don't think they can just show my pictures without attribution or without permission. And so I called the lawyer, and he was like, yeah, I mean, technically you're right, but like, what are you going to do? Are you really going to sue them? And he said, what you should do is you should just call them and get them to make some concession to you of some sort. And so this is back when my site was betterthanyourboyfriend.com. And so I called them and I was like, hey, you used my photos without attribution. I'm going to sue you unless you do a follow-up story and you say that you got the photos from betterthanyourboyfriend.com. So I have a video clip of this like news anchor, and they weren't happy they had to do this. And so it was this very negative thing where they're like, these hooligans went in and the police are doing everything they can to catch them. And by the way, we got the pictures from betterthanyourboyfriend.com. So anyway, long story, but we used to climb construction cranes. My first date used to be climbing this radio tower until a girl almost fell off. And then I thought I should probably stop doing this. Yeah, we used to break into everything. I feel like I've sort of over it to some extent now. I also think like the risk reward doesn't feel the same as it used to. But you know, if there was some awesome place to go, I would definitely go. I kind of miss that a little bit. I haven't done it in Vegas at all. I know there's a whole tunnel system here. So there's these rainwater tunnels that go through the city, and a lot of homeless people live in them, but they sort of are, you know, I mean, I think any homeless population has some serious mental health and drug issues. But if you look online, like Vice and all these people do interviews with them, and it's kind of interesting. There's like little communities there, and they sort of work together, and you can go very far in Vegas, all the way under the strip to the other side. So it's sort of interesting. 2-in-1 portable. Okay, sorry, don't know what that is. Let's see. Recently bought a Winnebago Travato 59 GL. I don't know what that is. GL. Let's see how big it is. Oh, it's a little one. That's cool. Nice. Okay. Oh, it looks like maybe even a pop out. Embracing remote IT work for travel and potential relocation research. Are RVing days over? Yeah, they're over now. I don't know. I mean, I should say I do occasionally look up RVs, just like, oh, maybe we get an RV and we go on trips sometimes. I think very fondly of the days when I lived in the RV. Like, it doesn't feel like, oh, thank God those days are over and I have a house now. I really think really fondly of those days. I think being married, you know, would we want to live in an RV? Like, definitely not. I really enjoy having a big house where I can do all these projects. I think that's like you see in the reflection back there, the wood wall. That's new. If you look at the last one, it used to just be looking way out into that room before I built the wall. So I really like doing these sorts of projects. I think I'm in that phase now, project phase. But yeah, I don't know. I still like it. I still think it's the right. I think it's like the right thing for so many people to like go through a phase, live in an RV, learn to be minimal, save money, you know, visit a few different places or whatever. And then, you know, I think that's like an awesome phase to go through. Any cool traveling recently or up? Yeah, this is kind of a funny one, actually. So during COVID, I was just so desperate to go on cruises, and they kept getting canceled, but it kept kind of seeming like, okay, well, if I book this cruise, maybe in 3 months or 4 or 5 months when it goes, maybe it won't, maybe they won't cancel it this time, because it seemed like things were getting better. And so my buddy Todd and I booked my favorite cruise, which goes from Seattle to Tokyo. I don't do it every year in every direction, but I've done it a bunch of times. So we booked that one. And then we booked this amazing one that went LA to Hawaii to like South Pacific to Sydney. And both got canceled. Then they kept getting moved. And I didn't. And so I just kept saying like, okay, yeah, move them. We'll just stay on. You could kind of get your money back or you could move it. And so I just kept saying to move them. And I didn't realize that they got moved essentially back to back. So in September, we're going to go Seattle all the way to northern Japan to Tokyo. And then a week after that, we have to be in LA to go all the way to Sydney. So out of those like 2 months, we're going to be cruising for like 7 weeks out of 2 months or something like that. So I need to find a really good project to do. Right now, all my projects are like physical at my house projects. So I need to have some sort of probably big cruise sheet update or something, or maybe writing. But yeah, so that's my big thing. I think because I have that sort of looming, I have less desire to travel. I've been to Europe a bunch of times, Budapest a bunch of times, Tokyo a bunch of times. I sort of got that out of my system after not being able to do it for so long in COVID. And so I'm also just like loving spending time in Vegas. I don't know. I've got like friends here. I'm doing my projects. Yeah, I don't know. I like the summers here. You go swimming. It feels great. Yeah. OpenCV, OpenMV. Yeah, OpenCV is what I was looking at. I don't know what MV is, so I'll look that up too. Yeah, I think it'd be a fun project. Like that's why I like a lot of these home projects is, if I was just going to say, well, I'm going to learn, I'm the kind of person where if I'm like, well, I'm just going to learn OpenCV for the sake of learning it, I won't really do it or I won't get much out of it. I'll go through like some demos. I'll be like, okay, cool. But if I have something I want to happen, like this pool level thing, then I'll just go super deep and learn. So it's fun to have an excuse to learn it. I also have a hilarious idea for how I'm going to get the water into the pool. I think I'm going to make a spout that launches it out of the pool area fence and just goes over the fence and arcs into the pool. Unfortunately, yesterday I came up with a more practical way to do it, but I'm kind of hoping that doesn't work, so I have to do the launch strategy. Oh, Tanzania. I've heard good things about Tanzania as well. RVing days are over since the aiming for yachting. That is so true. Although I feel like the yacht thing I'm less excited about. During COVID, it just felt like the perfect thing because I'm stuck at home and I can't go on cruises. And it's just like, boy, if I was in a yacht, I could go anywhere I wanted, be out in the sea. Also, we have a boat in Vegas, and my God, have I had a lot of problems with this stupid boat. I love it. It's like the perfect boat in basically every way, except that it has two engines, and at any given point, one of them has some issue. So I went out yesterday. We're going to have a barbecue out there. So excited. And then this engine that literally was just replaced and then repaired because it still didn't work, died after 5 minutes. Frustrating day yesterday. All this pool stuff and then the boat thing. All right. Let's see. Any more questions? I feel like a lot of times these things are just updates on like what do I think about crypto, and I talk Vegas. I talk about the same things, which is fine for me. I like talking about that stuff. Yeah, boat bust out another 1,000. I wish it was only 1,000. I had to replace both engines within the first few years of owning this stupid thing. And honestly, I don't even know if I had to replace both engines. The fact that I've been able to correctly diagnose some things that these professional boat people haven't makes me wonder. I'm like, did those engines really have to be replaced, or was that just like what they said? I don't know. That said, right now it's been frustrating because we literally, I think in the past year I've been out on the boat once, literally once, except for these times when I try to go and it doesn't work. When it's working most of the time, I honestly don't even care. Like the first time I had to replace the engine, I'm like, who cares? I love this boat. Put as many engines in as you want. It's frustrating when it doesn't work and you're spending money. It's so annoying. But having a boat, especially in Vegas, being able to go out on the lake with your friends, have a barbecue, swim, it's just like, it's such a game changer. It's like a different life almost. Yeah. Still using the Manal backpack. Yep. Yeah, I switched back from that Peak Design one. I don't know. Neither of them is perfect for me. And I keep looking to see if there's anything better. Oh boy. See, there's an automation going wrong because my tea kettle has been off for too long because I'm not making enough tea. Now it's opening my curtain. That's all right. But now it'll probably turn back on. Yeah, there we go. All right. Still using the Manal backpack. Yeah. I don't know, man. There's just not a perfect backpack out there. And it's kind of crazy because I guess my needs are a little bit weird because I have much less clothing than most people. But it doesn't seem that weird. I don't know. It's just weird to me that nobody wants a backpack like I want. So yeah, I guess I like the Manal one. I like its lightweight. I like how it looks. I feel like it fits a little better under stuff than the other one. The organization drives me nuts. It's terrible organization. Yeah. Get a used boat, new outboard engine. I'm never getting another boat. If I don't fix it, because this one is really perfect for me. It has, I don't like to wear sunscreen. I don't like to get burnt. You can see I got a little burnt here, I think, yesterday. The boat we have is kind of perfect. It's like 30 feet or 30 something feet. It has an indoor area with a kitchen, small kitchen, little dinette area, and 2 beds. So it's like we and another couple or some friends can go out and sleep there, which is really nice. The fall and spring are very long in Vegas, really nice. Even in the winter, it stays warm because the water doesn't get that cold, and so you're kind of insulated. And And then on the top deck, it has a seating area where we can fit 5 people or 6 if we had a chair. Little deck on the back with a barbecue. And so like it has a lot, but it's not that big. If I had to get one like an outboard one with like the speedboat, I don't know, I just wouldn't use it. So it's like this is the perfect format of a boat. I just need to get these stupid engines working. I don't know what's going on with it. Any updates to your 2023 gear post? Oh, I've got 2 new things that are amazing, but I'm going to save them. I like the big reveal at the end of the year. Otherwise, it's like if I announce them all, I know not a ton of people read this watch this compared to the blog, but I'm going to save them. I've got 2 things that I guarantee you haven't heard of. Put it that way. One is a category of something you've never even heard of, I think. Another is an improvement to one of the old things that for sure nobody's ever seen. Oh, good question. Do you find having cruise status useful? Yes. Royal Caribbean is the one to get for sure. You could also make an argument for celebrity, but Royal Caribbean is the one. The reason is it's pretty easy to get. The trick to doing it is to find really cheap cruises and then booking them solo if you can, because then you get double points. Or finding cheap. Wow, I haven't cruised on Royal Caribbean in like a year almost. 6 months, I guess. Look at the point system. You'll figure out how to game it. The thing about cruise status is it lasts for life and it can match to other things. So, for example, you can match Royal Caribbean status. First of all, you can match it to celebrity up to a certain point, and it's to the point where it matters, where you get all the good benefits. You can also match it to MGM status, which in Vegas is incredible. You get free parking at all of the MGM casinos, which is like half of them. And so, for example, when I go to Golden Knights games here, it's $40 for event parking, but it's free for me. So I save, I go to like probably 20 games a year, 20, maybe 30. So I'm saving like $1,000 a year on parking. Not that I would really pay that probably. I'd probably just park further, but still. I think you can match it to Marriott or Hyatt as well. I could be wrong. There's something else you can match it to. And it just makes cruising incredible. I mean, so much stuff is free, like internet is cheaper. It just kind of changes the game on it. I'm Diamond Plus. Is that what it's called? Diamond Plus on Royal Caribbean. Once I get like halfway to Pinnacle, because there's only one more called Pinnacle, but I feel it's so lame, all these names, right? Oh, once I'm Pinnacle. Once you get halfway, you get to the point where instead of paying double to have your own cabin, you only pay 50% more, and then it's sort of like game over. That really changes it. So these days, if we can find a good enough deal, often my friends and I get our own cabins, and it's really nice if you're making phone calls, if you're you just kind of want your own space to work. It's pretty nice. So yeah. I want the backpack community, dude. I do too. Email Manal. They play with my emotions. I'm good friends with both of those guys who run it, and if enough of my readers would buy it, they would definitely make it, and they would make like the highest quality one available. But I think there just aren't. I think at this point they just sort of need a guaranteed amount of people to buy it for them to make something that's sort of a departure from what they do. But that's my dream, is to have a Manal made one that I designed. They were I don't know. They were kind of interested in it, but not as interested in as I thought they would be. Updated money posts with current money market rates. Probably. That's a good idea. I guess it's more boring now because there's not that real loophole to take care of. But I'll just give you an update here. I'll tell you what I do basically is, so now I use M1, and the reason is, this is very bizarre. Interactive Brokers closed my account, and I don't know why. I wasn't doing anything weird at all. I have one theory that is sort of related to my name and address, which it might have been. And then the other theory might be that I did have 2 accounts with them. I opened one, tried to move to another one, and never bothered to close the other one. So but they left that one open, so it might have been that. Anyway, freaked me out enough that I'm like, well, maybe I'm not going to use Interactive Brokers. Plus, the interest rates are so high now, it's not that beneficial to do. So I moved to M1, And what I love about M1 now, which I didn't write about because either it didn't exist or I didn't use it, is you can make automations for it. So kind of related to home automation, finance automation. So I have a really cool thing now where I have a checking account that all my credit cards get paid out of. If that goes below a certain amount, it borrows from my stocks. If there's too much money in the checking account, it pays off the loan. And once it pays off the loan, it buys more stocks. So it's fully automated. I never have to look at it. And yeah, so far I've really been impressed with it. I sort of switched because I was like, oh, if Interactive Brokers is getting rid of me, I've got to make this decision. And I thought maybe I might just move it to Schwab and not try to do anything fancy, but I've really been liking it. They also have a good debit card that they just discontinued, which is kind of annoying. They're in the process of shifting from one bank to their own in-house bank. And so, yeah, I really like M1. I also like, so I have, the portfolio that I outlined, which I still use. I haven't changed it. What I like is when it's doing the buys, it will automatically weight it properly. So I don't really have to rebalance because as long as there's like money coming in on average, it will just buy the low ones. And all these things are non-volatile enough that it's not like something goes from like 40% allocation to like 20. It might be like 40 to like 35. And so some small amount of money can bump it up. Yeah, so check out M1. M1 has been surprisingly good. As I use it more, and especially if they came out with a debit card again, I'll probably write about it, a new system using it. Their margin rates are also good. They're not as good as Interactive Brokers, but I think if I look at like, well, how much am I actually borrowing on average, the delta between them, it's like, is it worth paying an extra few $100 a year or something to have it fully automated where I never have to look at finances versus Interactive Brokers was amazing, but their interface kind of sucked. I had to rebalance. Anyway, long-winded, but that might be it. Other than that, I don't think I'm doing anything that interesting. Staking ETH, which I self-stake, which I really like to do. Do you own cruise ship stock? Yes, I have 100 shares of all of them. I bought them. I used to buy them and then I would just sell them as soon as I got on the cruise. And then when COVID happened and everything dropped, I just bought 100 shares of everything. I think Carnival is actually still down from there. And I never really go on Carnival, but Princess is their sister ship. And so I use them. But Royal Caribbean has been way up. Yeah, I do those. Yeah. And definitely worth it. You get, especially because I do mostly longer cruises, you get $250 stateroom credit for every single cruise. And so, that chunks away at internet pretty well. I'm really excited about, first cruise I'm going on is on Celebrity and they have SpaceLink now. So it's Starlink. They have Starlink now. And I was on a 1-day cruise or 2-day cruise with them and I got to try it. It was really good. So I'm excited to be like on a longer cruise where I'm trying to work and I have Starlink. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Ever send you the final version of my draft system? No, haven't seen it. I saw the one when you were here in Vegas. I wonder if I would use it or not. I tend to like these things and then I just don't use them because I just have few enough cables that I tend to just like put them in the pocket. I think I'm just lazy about organization, honestly. Like I love it when it's on one of those things. And I do love your product. I legitimately think it's an awesome product. I just don't know that I would use it given the few number of things that I have. Definitely willing to check it out, but just want to set expectations that I don't know if how I would use it. Recently used 45-liter Peak Design backpack. Oh, 2-bagging. I don't know about that. It's 45, man. That's huge. I think everybody can get down to like a 23-liter backpack. You have to wear wool. So, but like my wife, is not naturally like a light packer. A lot of people are like, oh, women can't do it. They need more stuff. She makes it work. 45 is crazy. I would never travel with a 45-liter bag. Yeah, really like 30 maybe. And a sling to have 2 bags, that's wild. Oh yeah, wheeled options. No, boy, we're going the wrong direction. We need to go lighter. Peak Design, I do think is pretty good. You know, it's funny. I bought their first product ever, which was on Kickstarter. It was this like hip-mounted, what is it even called, like a holster for a camera that was pretty good. My other backpack that I recommended 2 years ago is a Peak Design. I think that was another example where it had really good organization, but then I ended up not using it because it was this like modular system that like, yeah, on paper looked great. And then the first time I packed the bag, I was so excited about it, but then I found I didn't really use it. I don't like how thick their bag is. Mine, it has like this foam. It's kind of annoying. The quality isn't as good as Manal, but it does have some. I like mine has these sort of side pockets that fold out, and there's 2 pockets here, 2 pockets here. I really liked that. Have you ever wanted to pick up a second passport? I'm desperate to do it. And the problem is, to really do it, you have to spend money. And then every time I get to that point where I'm like, okay, am I going to spend money on this? I can't think of any actual practical reason to do it, which is too bad. I kind of wish I had a reason because it would be pretty cool. I'm actually part Italian, and it was like so close to me being able to get it through heritage. Like if my grandfather's father had my grandfather before he renounced his Italian citizenship versus afterwards, I would have gotten it. So yeah, I think there's no practical reason. I think it's the coolest thing in the world, but benefits don't really make sense. Still eating Chipotle daily. Yeah, I love Chipotle, man. Although I'll tell you a little update. They don't have one in Vegas yet, but there's a restaurant called Cava, Cava. I had it in DC and in New York and Boston. So it's like an East Coast thing, but I think they're in California now too. It's like Mediterranean Chipotle. I think it's even better than Chipotle. If one opens in Vegas, I will maybe never eat a Chipotle again. It's that good. I also think that the mix is better. You can get this like super greens base that's Brussels sprouts and kale, maybe broccoli. So it's just like kind of a little more balanced. Yeah, really good. Love the design of the InCharge X. Long term wasn't reliable enough for me. I haven't had any issues with it, but I don't use it that often. I have started, it is a little short for a lot of things. So I've started also traveling with a 1-foot USB-C cable. We'll see what lasts. I know someone who do backdated documents for it. I'm interested. I don't fully understand what we're talking about here, but would you mind sending me an email on that? Sounds interesting. Have you ever drank Kava Kava? There's at least one Polynesian Kava bar in Vegas. No. What is that? Isn't that like some psychoactive thing or something? I'll look it up. Kava. Bitter herbal remedy. Yeah, I don't know. Not that interested. Who knows? I don't know anything about it. Maybe 6 months from now I'll be doing one about how everybody should be drinking Kava Kava. I do feel like I dismiss things a little too quickly sometimes. So I don't know. Maybe I should look into it a little more. In general, try to keep life easy. I drink water. I drink. Makes your lips and tongue. I'm out on that. I love Sichuan food though. That kind of does the same thing. I drink my tea, drink water, and I drink Spindrift, which is, my God, are those things good? They're such a luxury for me that I drink 1 per day. And for a while I was drinking 2 per day, and I thought, it's too luxurious, can't do it. Yeah, but I love Spindrift too. How's the sauna? Thank you for asking. I've been working so hard on the sauna recently. Let me show you some pictures. If I was organized, I would like load it up on the screen and you could actually see it. But I'm just going to show you on my phone how it's going. What's more ghetto than that? Holding a phone up to the screen. Huh? All right, let's see. So I just took a photo the other day. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, here you go. Look at this. Rotate. Rotate. No rotate. All right, no rotate. Make it brighter. Rotate. There we go. So let's see if you can see this. So it has a little entryway. It's not really going to focus, is it? No, I'm sorry, that's so crappy you can barely see that. Anyway, what you're looking at is on your right is the steam room full of steam. I have a crazy light system I've been building. And then, yeah, sorry, this is just a really crappy thing. I'm going to have to do a video on it or something. This is too bad. Anyway, it's going great. The steam room fully works. I have this incredible guy who's doing it. So if you've ever been to my #1 recommendation in Tokyo, Yakumo Sario, best tea house, best Japanese tea house in the world, I think it's fair to say. They have this amazing floor that I really like that is concrete with sort of this like small black stone aggregate in it. And I got this guy recommended to me, sort of like a marble stoneworker guy in Vegas, 100% Italian guy, moved to Vegas from Florence or something. And I show him this picture and I'm like, hey, look, I'm willing to do tile. I'm willing to do like whatever. What I really want is for the whole thing, the floors of the entire building, and then the walls and ceiling of the steam room. I really want them to be this material. Can you do it? And he's like, well, I've never done that before. I've never seen that before, but I'll figure it out. And it was like a lot of trial and error. The wall caved in. He had to redo it. Came out amazing. I love this guy. He did a really good job. So I got the finish I wanted. It sort of feels like a cave, but like a clean cave. And then I've been getting, I think Garrett was asking about technology stuff. I've been getting really into LEDs. So I've been getting into WLED. There's this guy, QuinLED.info or something, makes these awesome controllers where you can like kind of run a lot of voltage through these things. So I'm trying to make like a James Turrell like light experience. So in that photo I tried to show you, you could see it was like crazy purple lights. The effect I want is when you're in there that it's like all you can see is one light because the steam absorbs the light and it reflects it out. And so it kind of works, but I'm trying to get them even brighter. Anyway, what was I saying? So that's been good. I'm measuring now to do the sauna wood. The entryway is like this little, it's about 3.5 feet wide by like 13 feet. So it sort of goes in front of the sauna and steam room. I wanted to have a fridge, a mini fridge with an ice maker in it, so I can have my spindrift when I'm in the steam room. And there's only 3 companies that make a fridge like that, like a mini fridge that can go under a counter that has like an ice bucket in it. And they're all $2,600 or more. And I happened to find someone in Vegas selling one for $200. What a score. I was happy for a week because of this deal. I couldn't believe it. It was a little bit dirty, so I had to like clean it. It had some mold because they'd like left it in. So I had to fully clean the thing. But incredible. There's literally like 3 models in the world and I found one here. In Vegas, it's not the biggest place in the world. So like in New York, maybe you could always find something like that. Well, I don't know if they would have that in New York, maybe. Anyway, big score for me. So now I'm trying to, I heard them delivering it while I was on this thing. I have a little cabinet that's going to go to the left of that, where I can house like the water filter, all that. Anyway, it's going great. Thank you for asking. Oh, and I put in a ventilation system because before I'd have to leave the door open all the time for the steam room and fog up the whole thing. So it's for hydroponic pot farms. It's the only like inline duct I could get that I could control remotely. Just do the tea time next straight from the sauna. Yeah, should. It would be a very short one. I don't have the stamina for those things yet. Is the sauna still by the pool? Yeah, it's in its own building. So I built this building with my dad. It's like a shed building. It's not too fancy. Let me see if I have a photo. I might have a better photo. Oh, here's one. You'll be able to see this better. So this is, well, that's not very big. Well, here, yeah, you can kind of see in this one. We'll see. So you can sort of see that's the steam room. You can kind of see the finish in there. I'm going to walk around and see if I can focus on this. Let's just give it a go. Let's see. I'm going to put it here. There we go. Look at that. That worked. So you can see that's the steam room. This is glass between, so it's the sauna over here. You can see in there, this bench. You can see the pool over there. So you can kind of see this material that I have there. Hey, that worked. That's pretty good. Now, how do we focus it back? That might work. All right, there we go. Certain topics, man, I just get excited about it. I can't stop talking about them. Like, how many people here really care about the steam room? Maybe like one. But I'm glad you care. I appreciate it. That's been a fun project to work on. I had to learn a lot to do that. Looks better than expected. Thank you, dude. I felt the same way, honestly. Like when I first built it, I'm like, I basically just built a shed. How is this going to be like a peaceful spa environment? Yeah, honestly. And then when the guy was working on it, there were definitely like these intermediate phases where I'm like, oh, this is not looking that good. But yeah, great. DEF CON's coming up. Nice. Will it be down in August? Will it be down? Oh, that's like right on the end of when I might be here. I might be. Yeah, probably 50-50. Let me know. It might be fun to go to DEF CON. I haven't been in a while. Maybe meet you there. Dating apps have been a bust for me. No action 5 years while everyone's trying timing out. How's married life? Married life is awesome. Look, here's this could be another rant right here. Maybe my last rant because we're going a little bit long. What time is it? When am I supposed to help my wife with something? Let me just see when I'm supposed to be there. Oh yeah, got plenty of time. Yeah. So here's the thing about marriage. I think by default, marriage is not good. I think because marriage is such an institution in the country, in the world, I don't really know, that I think it carries certain expectations. And I feel like this is me. This is like, sounds like I'm about to go into polyamory. I'm not at all. I'm monogamously married and all that. But I think it comes with certain expectations of a fairly sucky relationship. Like when you think of the average marriage, do you really think of it as like a good thing where both people or even one person is benefiting? I don't. And so I think that just like so many things in life, it's like, okay, there are benefits to being married. How do you get all of the benefits or most of the benefits or whatever, but also get a lot of the benefits of being single? So for me, in particular, what this is for me is independence and freedom. I think if there was an expectation that I was default at home, having dinner together every night, like sort of this like standard thing, I think I would get pretty bored of that. I think my wife would too, which is probably part of why I married her. So like, for example, I was traveling through Europe with one of my female friends and, 100% platonic. We've been friends forever, nothing there at all. And it occurred to me how weird that seemed. In fact, there was like this guy who I actually know who thinks that she's my wife because there's just like I actually think he had met my wife, to be honest. But anyway, it's just like so weird for like a married 40-something-year-old guy to travel with a female, right? Even with a guy, it's sometimes weird, right? Like I can't even imagine, if I think back to my dad, when he was my age, if he was off traveling with a woman or even like with just one of his guy friends, it would just seem so strange. But to us, it's really normal. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think you kind of have to make what you want out of it. I think what's great for us is that both of us like long-term planning. We like, we're more long-term minded than short-term minded. And when you're in a marriage that is going to last or think very strongly is going to last forever, it makes decision-making a lot more fun and a lot more productive when it's like, okay, cool. Maybe in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll do this. Even like something like the financial flexibility of like, we actually keep mostly separate accounts, but something about just sort of like, oh, if there's like a big transaction, I need like some of her money, she needs some of mine. It's like, well, yeah, you just kind of move it around. It's all kind of going the same place anyway. I think I've realized that the connections my wife has to my family are actually one of the most satisfying parts of the marriage for me. It's just nice to be able to bring people together that I really love, and to see those relationships flourish. So yeah, I love it. I think marriage is amazing. I'm so glad, I don't know. We sort of like, we got married half for immigration reasons, sort of like, well, she's going to need a green card if this is going to work. I don't care about marriage. Let's just do it. I'd say a week before our wedding, we were not thinking of it really as a real wedding. It was sort of like, well, maybe we'll really want to get married someday, but we'll just do it now. And then the morning after we got married, we were both sort of like, oh, we're actually married now. It was weird. It really like, we're like, oh, this is a real marriage. I don't know that there's any other way we would have gotten married, because I think I was kind of against marriage, and I'm super glad we did. So anyway, marriage rant. But yeah, I really like being married. I think it's great. But I think you have to do the work, and you have to like think about what relationship you want to build with this other person. Make sure it's, see what they want to build, find that common ground. And yeah, it's great. Love it. All right, we've been going pretty long. I think we got 10 minutes max left. And gotta see, this is good for my wife. She has an apartment that she's selling. So she needs me to go fix stuff. See, so I think she would say marriage is good too. Even like the way we deal with the house. The system is I can do whatever I want with the house except her office and the kitchen, and I'll pay for everything. But then if she likes it, she'll pay for some of it. It actually works great for us. I love it. That way, it's like if I want to go bananas on this pinball. Oh, I haven't told you guys about the pinball room I built. That's another crazy one. I don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm spending a lot of the family's money here. But then like I bought a pinball machine for her. She's like, oh, I like pinballs. I'll give some of that money. No prenup. I don't know. I mean, I think the problem is that everybody who did need a prenup thinks that they didn't, or they would have gotten one. But my thought on it is, here's my thought on it. My thought is that if I don't get a prenup, then I'm forcing myself to really make sure that I'm marrying the right person. Not because even I think it's going to last forever. I mean, I do think it's going to last forever. Especially after 5 years in, I'm pretty confident on it. But I trust my wife enough that, let's say I did something horrible. Let's say she comes home, I'm cheating on her in her own bed, or something terrible, and I stole her money while I was at it. I think even in those situations, I think she would be reasonable about how we figured it out. Could be wrong. Probably a lot of people have thought that before, but I think also I'm a fairly good judge of character. I think I've been through enough certain specific things that, like pick up and sort of, I think I just know people well enough that I think I'm right on that. So I would rather we just figure it out fairly. And also, if I'm wrong, I don't mind paying the penalty for being wrong, because I want to learn from my mistakes. So, she even offered, she's like, hey, do you want to sign a prenup? I was like, not really. So I'm not against them. I can see situations where they make sense, but I think if you are signing a prenup, you should really think about why you think you have to sign that prenup, and whether you should really get married or not. I also think that, like, in general, you should. I don't know how sure you have to be about marriage, but I think you have to be really sure about the person when you get married. Because if you find the right person, but actually marriage wasn't right for you, I think it's kind of okay. If you get married to the wrong person, so there is something about all your family being there when you get married and your friends that I didn't anticipate would affect me at all. Where I'm like, oh, we kind of, in our vows were like, we didn't even have vows, I don't think, did we? I think we just had generic vows. I don't think we did vows. Certainly didn't write anything. But even just like the commitment in front of people, it does bind you in a way where I don't know that you can get out of that. Or like you can, but it's going to be a rip apart. Anyway. Enough about that, maybe. Yeah, we keep our finances separate. And the main reason, like, if she ever needed money, she could have my money. It's not like, it's not like I'm going to be on a yacht and she's like, on the street. Like, it's not that separate. But it's mostly separate so that we can spend money without consulting the other person. And I think that's good. I don't know. I think it's really healthy. Yeah, just like with these house projects, like I spend a ton of money on these house projects because it's not even just like for the house. It's not like I'm like, oh, I want to increase the value of the house because I really don't care. It's that I'm learning something. I'm going to spend the money to like get the tools and enjoy the process. And if I did it wrong, I'm just going to rip it down and buy the right stuff and do it again. So I'm glad I don't have to consult her with that, or even not consult her, but just feel like, oh, I'm kind of wasting our family's money. And she's like, my wife has just like this incredible heart where for a while there was this like Syrian refugee family that she was sending like a lot of money to. I thought it was a scam at first, but turned out not to be. That she was sending money to help support them. And, she specifically said, she's like, I don't want to have to ask you if I'm going to do that. I don't want to think like, oh, I'm taking money from our family. This is my money. So that said, I think that as we've been married longer, I think the divisions between our money are sort of less relevant. Like, I just think it doesn't really matter. So like we kind of buy each other stuff all the time. And I think at least in the back of my head, I'm like, well, it's kind of our money. It doesn't really matter. But if we ever got divorced or something, we would just keep whatever money we had. And, I would probably pay her for half of the house, I guess, because I've put too much work into this place to move. I don't know. I guess we'd figure it out. All right, how we doing? All right, maybe one or two more questions. I got like 5 more minutes then. Time to go. What am I doing today? Fixing some cabinets. Man, I just got a bunch of new LED stuff. If you guys are into LEDs at all, I feel like Garrett might be. This was new to me. I feel like maybe you guys know, but COB, chip on board lights, seem incredible. They're so close that it just makes almost like a neon strip of lights. So I just bought some of those to mess around with. Here's another interesting thing I learned about LEDs. If you're doing any home automation stuff, get higher voltage ones, because then the voltage can go, it loses less voltage over the line. I did 5 volts in the spa, and it's really coming back to bite me because now I have to inject power in different places. And yeah, see, I knew Garrett would know about this stuff already. Have you done any IKEA hacks? I'm going to show you guys a quick IKEA hack. Let's see. I'm going to do a little swing around. So let me tell you, this is the project that I've been working on that I've been super excited about. The tea room used to be, how wide is this? 13 feet by like 20 something feet. And so I'd be sitting here where I am now. I'm in my chair and I'm looking at the guest chairs, and I would look all the way back through this empty space to the door to my workshop, basically. And so I built a wall with my dad separating it. And then I put a secret door in there. How cool is that? I've always wanted to have a secret door. And the kits for them were so expensive. And I thought, these are made for standard door frames. If I'm not constrained by a door frame and I'm building the thing myself, I could just make a bookcase. So I'm gonna give you guys a little demo of the secret door. First time. I think I'm gonna write about it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me as I get further, because I don't really know how good this microphone is. So here's the secret door. That plant's kind of in the way, but all right. All right, so let's see. I don't know if you can really see. Here's the secret door. Got a secret latch, electromagnet. Look at that. Let me see what you can see there. Oh, you can't see anything. Oh, well. Well, you saw the door move anyway. And pull it back. There we go. All right. Spin it back over here. There we go. Whew. So anyway, that was an IKEA. That's where I got. That's why I thought about that. That was an IKEA bookcase. All right, maybe this is the last question, guys. I love doing these things, so I never want to leave. I don't know. I guess we could keep going too. Why do I have to go? Maybe we'll say a few more minutes. I'm still going to drink my tea anyway. Relationships often feel like transactions. Sorry, I'm trying to look through this thing here. Often feel like transactions. There's more family, love, relationships blossoming. No kids, probably. Yeah, I just think our lifestyles are so good right now. Like, we travel all the time. We do all this great stuff. We have so much freedom. And this is selfish. And I'm not proud of it, right? But I just think selfishly, like, I just like my life so much and I don't want to give it up. I could also see a world where that changes. And my wife is on the same page. I think she's maybe even slightly more anti-kid than me, but probably about the same. So yeah, no plans for kids, but I could also see a world where, I'm just like, hey, we've sort of done all this stuff. It's time for the next phase. And that next phase is kids. And I can see a lot of positives to it too. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm an uncle and I love being an uncle. So I think in some ways that makes me more likely to have kids, and then in other ways I'm like, well, I could just keep being an uncle. I love that too. Very satisfying. Those loud creaks don't help the secret of the door. Well, once it's open, it's not a secret. Uh, it's not actually that loud. I think maybe it's just the way it sounds on the microphone or something. It has some wheels that carry the weight, and they roll, and this floor isn't totally level, so I think that's kind of what's going on. See, now you've got me wanting to make it quieter. Damn it. I think at this point, I probably can't really make it quieter though. Yeah, all I ever wanted in life, the last two things I wanted in a house were a secret door, so I got to build that, and then a fountain, which maybe you can hear now, like indoor water feature. So in the tea room, kind of over there in the corner, I have these lava rocks that I set up, and then I have a fountain too. So the only thing I want now is a lazy river connecting me to my friends' houses, but we'll see. That one may not happen. Let's see. Last time in Chiang Mai, I met the parents of 4 little girls. They do it for Alaska and Argentina, and truck and camper, whole family. Yeah, it does happen. But like, it's different. Like, let's not pretend it's not different. Being around my nieces and nephews and seeing how much they, or even cousins, and just like seeing how much they require, it changes the dynamic of it. So it's not that it's not possible, but it is just a different thing. And I think based on the kind of traveling we do, it'd be totally different. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not the only reason, but I think it's just like a lot to give up. I think if we both lived in Vegas full time, we had, last year I was here 130 days, so it's here a third of the time. My wife is probably here maybe a little more, about half the time, I would guess, probably about half the time. So if we were here all the time, I think it would be an easy yes, actually. I think, well, it's like not that much of a disruption. It's, you can't sleep well, whatever, we'll figure it out. Anyway, thinking about it. That's a good one. One of the get to know you questions to ask people is, if you had a secret door, which book would you use as a lever? I thought a lot of, I stayed up. I remember there's one night I couldn't fall asleep because I was thinking about what I was going to do for the lever. What I ended up doing, so I was going to use one of my tea tins. I don't know if you could see them on there. They're all there. I was going to have one where you pull it, and it was going to be kind of like a funny tea name of one you would never actually choose to drink or something. What I ended up doing was, in those wood slat walls, like this way, like you can see here, there's like these sideways cross pieces. In one of them, I embedded a piece of metal, and then I have a conductive pad that runs through the wall. So I just touch the pad and it unlocks. And if you just touch it briefly, it unlocks the door, turns on the lights. If you hold it down, it turns on the black lights, the pinball machine. Oh, because that's the pinball room. That's the whole point. And cool lighting. Because what I found is at first I only had that mode. And then if I wanted to walk through it to like get some tools or something, because my workshop's back there, it's really annoying. So that's what I ended up doing in the end. And then on the inside, it's a whole long complicated thing. Who cares? Anyway. Heading to Thailand in October. Any suggestions? Not really. I like Thailand, but I don't love it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, it's one of those places where the food is so good vibes. But there's never been anything sort of like Budapest or Tokyo where I'm like, I love this place. There's these things you have to do. I think the best thing I did there was we went to Koh Phi Phi, which is an island somewhere. I don't know. Normally that's sort of like party. It's kind of like a party island. Wouldn't be my vibe. It was fun. It was cool. It was like all pedestrian. There were no cars. People there were very nice. We just sort of had this like roving band of people we ended up meeting that we do karaoke together and swim together. It was fun. Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe my advice is to explore outside of Bangkok and Chiang Mai. I hate Chiang Mai personally. I don't get why people like it, but I haven't spent much time there, so maybe just a week or two. So, yeah. Oh, what's the biggest rabbit? My whole life. What's the biggest rabbit hole you've gone down? My whole life is rabbit holes. Honestly, I can't. oh God, what rabbit? Pinball has got to be it. Pinball. Pinball started because we played my buddy Noah's pinball machines, my wife and I, and it was a fun activity for us. So I think when we got married, we had like all of our principles were the same basically, but all of our hobbies and interests were pretty different, other than maybe travel related stuff. And so whenever I find one that we like, I try to kind of dig into it. And so we were playing pinball at my buddy Noah's place, and we were playing twice a day. In the morning, we'd play a few games, and it's fun because you're sort of competing, but you're also, you kind of want the other person to succeed because it's fun to see where, what's the next phase of the game or whatever. And so after that experience of playing every morning, every night, I was like, I've got all these old monitors. Let me just set a couple up against the wall and we'll play some virtual pinball at home. So that led to me building my own virtual pinball machine, but then I couldn't find anywhere to put it. And so I had the idea to make it wall mountable in the guest room so that I could flip it up inside the closet. So I built the whole thing, brought it to the closet, and then realized as I flipped it up, it was going to hit the top of the frame. And so then I had to get a linear motor so that I could lower the entire thing, flip it up, raise it up so that it wouldn't fall out. And then we started getting good at pinball to where the next phase was going to be we had to nudge the machine, because that's actually a big part of playing pinball. And I had it set up physically so you could do it, but it's not the same when it's not freestanding. And I was really worried it was going to rip off the wall, because it was like wall connected to motor, connected to this back box that has a display, connected to the actual machine. And I was like, I don't know, maybe those screws are going to get loose. So then I was like, well, we need somewhere to put this freestanding one. So I need a pinball room. So then I had to build walls to build this new secret door. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to do that, you can't just have one pinball machine in the pinball room. So then I bought one physical pinball machine. I bought another one that hasn't come yet. And then I'm like, well, if you're doing this, you should get the arcade carpeting and the black lights. So it's like this, mirror ceiling. And then it's like, well, if you're building an arcade, you should have actual arcades too. So then I have this monitor that can like rotate on the wall. So it can be a vertical arcade. It has the marquee that says the name of it. I have to build a cabinet now it's literally all from like playing the Godzilla pinball at my friend's house. Oh, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. It's still going on. So maybe that's one of the biggest rabbit holes I can think of. All right, let's see a couple more. Thanks for the questions, guys. I appreciate it. I love doing these things. If you don't mind, why do you think of child-free life as selfish? Saying more value of potential children implies everyone should have as many as possible, which takes away freedom. Let's not get carried away. Anything to an extreme, it's like you can make some weird assumptions. Here's how I think of it. The gift that my parents gave me by giving birth to me and raising me is infinite, right? From my perspective, right? Because my potential enjoyment of this world went from 0 to like 10 million. I mean, it's so good because they chose to have me. So that is a generous act, right? And of course they get a lot out of it too, but just because somebody gets some satisfaction out of something doesn't mean that what they're doing isn't generous. So it's very generous for them to do that to me. As I've gotten older as well, I've also sort of realized, like, wow, my parents were such good parents, or are such good parents. The decisions that they made, even like when I think about the freedom I have now to travel and experience the world, it's like neither of my parents have been to Asia before, right? I partly live in Asia. So I think like, wow, they gave up a lot so that I get to have this experience. So to me, it's very generous. I guess the opposite of generous is selfishness. They would also love to have grandkids. I mean, they do have some, but they would like to have more grandkids. So if I chose to have kids, or if we chose to have kids, we would be sort of paying it forward by giving this incredible gift of life, and we would be good parents, like for sure. We have the resources to give them a good life, and the knowledge and principles, or whatever, give them a good life. So I do think of it as selfish. But we do selfish things all the time, right? Like, why have I not given away all of my money? Well, because I'm partially selfish, but we're all, we're self-interested. So yeah, that's why I think of it is that I don't go around looking at single people like, oh, you're so selfish, you don't have kids. But you know, in the same way, if I gave away all my money, I'd be a more selfless person. I think I'd be a more selfless person if I had kids. Yeah. All right. Is that it? One more? Could do just one more, man. Kopi was a blast. Moped rides, singing a beer, friendly, locals, easy to meet women. Yeah, when I was there, it might have been a little different too. When I was in Kopi, it was 2008. Wow, damn, getting old, huh? 15 years ago. So I should probably stop saying I'm getting old. What's the point of that? Probably I'll feel more old if I say that. Anyway, it was 15 years ago when I was still young. It felt very laid back. I could see, you know, there were definitely like a lot of bars and stuff, so there's definitely a party aspect to it. But it was just like it was sort of like how Tulum was maybe 10, 12 years ago. It was just like very laid back. Probably most people were there for some party elements, but it was, yeah, pretty low key. All right, guys, this ended up being a long one. I think we're going to let him go. Thank you guys for joining, especially for such a long one. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the questions. Garrett, let me know about that Italy thing. I'm intrigued. I will write a blog post about the pinball room. I'm waiting to get more pinball machines and to rebuild. Yeah, there's the other thing with the rabbit hole. Because the other pinball machine I built was not the standard size. Now I'm rebuilding it so that it can fit next to the other ones and look the same as them. Is there any point to that? I don't know. Part of it too. Oh yeah, Garrett I think was asking earlier what I'm trying to learn. I really want to learn about CNC woodworking, and so it's a good opportunity for that. There's an awesome shop here in Vegas called Syn Shop, SYN Shop, and it's $50 a month or something like that, and they have all these amazing tools. So I'm gonna go there and learn. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Great to see everybody. Thank you for showing up, especially if this was kind of a last minute one. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the good questions. Love you guys. Have a great weekend. Happy July 4th. See ya. I'm not surprised you have friends at Syn Shop, Garrett. It makes